Okay, so the exercise today is beginning to learn about um, motion as it occurs in nature. I have opened up one of these Edward Muybrid um, photo collections in Photoshop, and I'm just going to go through from the very beginning the entire process of doing one of these studies with you. So that number one, you can see what I'm expecting you to do. And number two, so that you can see that it's going to be a lot easier than you probably think it is. So these images are really small. I'm getting them off the internet. I made a post where I found as many of them as I could, and collected them all in one place for you. But regardless of that, it's still going to be tough. Okay, so what you want to do is you basically want to make a representation of as many of these as you need to get to the point where you are looping the set of images. And this image look like they are the top and bottom of the loop to me. In other words, you don't need to repeat this one, you only need to get to here. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 images that you would need to create in order to successfully complete this project. So let me go through the process and let's see what we think. So what I'm going to do is I'm essentially going to cut these up. I'm going to make 14 single images. So I'm going to hit, what I did was I just selected the first one using the square marquee tool. I'm going to hit Command C, which stands for copy. If you want to go up to edit and hit copy, that's fine. But I like, in this particular circumstance where I'm going to be doing it a lot, I think that the idea of key commands is probably the right way to do it. I'm going to create a new file. It's going to say, hey, do you want me to make the file based on the size of the clipboard? Say, sure, why not? See how tiny that thing is? I'm going to hit Command V, which is paste, or I could go up to edit and hit paste, Command V. Anyway, that's going to be my first image that I'm going to use to make a representation. So it's layer 1. I've got a couple different ways that I could do this. I'm going to try doing the whole thing in Photoshop and see what happens. So here is here's layer 2. Here is going to be layer 3. This is going to be layer 4. This will be layer 5. Layer 6. Seven. 8. 9. 10. 11. 12. 13. 14, and then we begin the cycle anew. Okay, so I have these 14 layers, and frankly, if I just turn them all on back to back, you would pretty much see like a really old looking film of a bird in flight. What I want to do though now, as someone who's trying to learn how to animate, is I want to change the image size to something that is more commensurate with a video that I want to build. So I'm going to go to Pixels. I'm going to take a look at which one is bigger, the width or the height, and in this case it's the height. So I'm going to make the height match. I'm going to make the height match a typical screen resolution. A typical screen resolution is 1920 by 1080. So I'm going to make the height 1080. Width is obviously much too small, but I'll show you how I'm going to contend with that in just a moment. Wow, that's really blurry. And now I'm going to go up here to canvas size. And I'm going to change the canvas size, again, according to pixels. I'm going to make it 1920 on top. And that means that basically I'm going to have this image is going to be much wider than it needs to be for my for my individual images. Okay, so what I want to do first is I want to get rid of the red in the background. So I'm just going to use the paint bucket tool to turn that background entirely white. There's the background. Now what I want to do is I want to create a new layer, and I'm going to call this Drawing 01. Okay, now what I want to do with this drawing is not, in fact, to trace this bird. Like, I have the sense from watching a lot of you work that you think that's what you're about to do, and that is not what you're about to do. What you're about to do is basically, as simply as you possibly can, represent this bird. Let me try that again. So, for those of you who are perfectionists, you can either, beef up that line. Photoshop's got this cool thing where it's you can turn the brush that you're drawing with into essentially an eraser using a function called clear. All right, so there's my first representation. Now I'm going to duplicate that drawing. Duplicate layer. It's going to be called Drawing 2. I'm going to turn off Drawing 1, and then I'm going to turn on Layer 2 and see how close I am. Okay, so what I want to do with Drawing 2 is I want to modify my drawing so that it's more commensurate with what the bird is really doing in this drawing. Normal. Where's normal? There it is. Oops. As you can see, he's starting to move his back in a way unlike the first image. So I'm going to erase the stuff. Oops, went the wrong way. Now this one's so radically different, I don't even think I don't really want to trace it. Let's see here. You know what? I am going to trace it. Pardon me. Not trace it, but duplicate it. Call this 3. Okay, what I'm going to do this time, though, is slightly different from what I just showed you to do. What I'm going to do this time is I'm going to try using some transformation tools and see if that works any better. Okay, let's see here. Edit, transform. Warp. Okay, there we go. That's what I was expecting to see. That isn't working so well. Okay, so I'm going to delete that one and draw a new one for it. All right. Okay. Now, what I hope you're seeing as this is going on is rather than it only being about tracing, I'm hoping that you're seeing the things that are happening with the animal in question. In this case, the bird, as it flaps its wings, arches its back. And then releases that arch. And so those are the kinds of motions, in addition to the actual wing flap, that I hope that you're noticing. Okay, now what I'm going to do is, before I export this stuff, is I want to move these things around so that they are reasonably close to each other in terms of seeming like they are, seeming like it's all going to look unified in the final. Oh, come on! Why won't it do? Oh, because I have multiple things selected. No wonder. All I mean by that is I'm trying to place the basic line work in such a way to where it looks like it's all going to be kind of close to each other, as opposed to there being parts of it that are that'll bob up and down. Right? That's all I'm saying. Good grief. So I'm going to turn these guys off and only have this one on. There we go. Basically what I'm doing to try to achieve that is moving the head. What did I do? Oh, there it is. Just then I accidentally double clicked something, and so layer style popped up in a different on a different screen, so I couldn't see it. I'm basically trying to position the head of the bird the same place in every one of these drawings, because I think that'll probably take care of the problem I'm describing. All right, cool. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn off the background, so I just have this transparent thing, and then I'm going to export every one of these images as pings. Do a quick export. That'll be better. Quick export is ping, and I'm going to call this. First, I'm going to put it on the desktop. New folder. We'll call this bird in flight. Create. We'll call this 01. O2. 03. 4. The reason I like to use zeros in front of these things is because it helps keep things sequential. Sometimes if you just say 1, 2, 3, 4, 11 will get messed up with it, but if you do 0, 1, when it gets to 1, 1, it'll keep it sequential. That's all. If I knew it was going to be more images than 99, I might do 0, 0, 1, so on and so forth. If you're more comfortable working in Illustrator for this, you are more than welcome to use Illustrator. Same concepts apply. I'm pretty comfortable drawing, so that made a lot of sense for me to do it this way. Okay, so now I have all of my images I created saved. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to open up Adobe After Effects. Oh man, something's wrong with After Effects. I can't get to the top of it. That is horrible. Aha! Got it. Alright. Okay, so After Effects. I'm going to do a new composition. In my comp settings, I'm going to make sure that I am set to 1920 by 1080. I'm going to make sure my background color is white. It defaults to black, so make sure that that's white. I'm going to do 24 frames, square pixels, all that's fine. Duration is going to be way less than this. Let's see, it's going to be, let's see, what is it going to be? It's going to be 28 frames. So it's going to be 1 second and 4 frames. You know what though, I want to loop it, so let's do longer than that. 3 seconds and 12 frames. Let's do that. 3 seconds and 12 frames. Okay, good. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to that folder that I just created that I called Bird in Flight. Right, here's Bird in Flight. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to set it up to where each one of these images is going to take up it's going to take up two frames. So there we go, 2 frames. So 1 frame, 2 frame, off. Okay, next one. Two frames each. So in effect, what we're really doing is we're making a 12 frame per second animation. Why didn't you just set it to 12 frames per second? Well, because viewing standards are that 24 frames or 30 frames per second are normal. Anything outside of that is weird. So I typically do 24 frames and then do 2, and then make the image take up 2 frames, so that I never have to deal with squirrely frame rates on the back end of it. I'd rather deal with the math while I am animating, rather than deal with the math after the fact, because this way I'm in control of things that might be squirrely, as opposed to letting the computer be in charge of things that might get squirrely. That's all. You know, it's the control freak in me. If you're a control freak, that's probably what you'll want to do too, because of what happens when you export the finished footage. But if you are not a control freak, by all means, you know, do whatever you want. It's all good as long as you get a video that plays this stuff in some sort of meaningful fashion. All right, so basically I'm just putting these things on the timeline, 2 frames each. By the way, I've never done this particular exercise before. I've always wanted to, because it's one of those classic exercises that everyone talks about doing. And when I studied animation in school, it never came up. And when I was working professionally in animation, I skipped it. But it's one of those things that I feel like my animation would have been better for had I done this. So I'm happy to be doing this exercise. Although what I think I'm going to discover is that all the stuff that I already knew is true. Because even though I haven't done it with this particular thing, I have done this sort of thing with walk cycles and character animation quite a lot, and this feels like that to me. Although I'm usually dealing with much more rendered, much more finished pieces than the simple line drawing I'm showing you right now. But I think that the simple line drawing is going to be really effective for communicating some stuff about how we animate text. So that is the goal here, is using the simple line drawing as a basis for thinking about how to move lines around, lines that will make up other symbols that we might recognize as letters or words. All right, now what I'm going to do, I thought that was all going to get selected. It did not get selected. Why not? Oh, I see. Okay, great. So what I want to do now is I basically want to loop this by duplicating it a few times on the timeline. I think that that is the number of loops I got, right? Okay, cool. So here we go. All right, cool. Once I do that, I add it to the render queue. Then I render it. I want lossless. I want output to, I'm going to save this as bird in flight exercise, or whatever you want to call yours. I want to put it on my desktop. Where's my desktop? There we go. And go. Render. All right, now grab that. All right, I'm gonna try to open this with QuickTime. It's probably gonna tell me it's gotta convert something. Could not be opened. Isn't compatible with QuickTime Player. Okay, so I just rendered this as a QuickTime and it says it's not compatible with QuickTime Player. Let's see. Really? All right. Okay, add to render queue. What I just discovered was I went to lossless. I switched it from format and format options. That's what I clicked, and I changed it to Apple ProRes. Hit OK. OK. We're going to call this bird in flight exercise. Save. Replace. Render. Okay, that looks like it probably worked. All right, and that is what I'm expecting you to do for this exercise.